Welcome back, guys. So there's like a 50-50 chance that I record an intro before the episode and 50-50 chance that I record it once I'm done. Well, this one is one of those once I'm done. I don't feel like getting my camera out right now. So you get an old school handheld intro. We're gonna dive right into it. We've got a bunch of random weird things we're gonna do today. I'll let the video tell the story. Let's go. In the last episode, we got the hood vent mocked up in the car, and with it, I mocked the headlamp covers and the grills for the fenders into place, but they're just kind of sitting there for the time being. One of the sentiments that I ended the last episode with was that I want to start crossing things off the list and actually finishing some of these half-finished projects. So we're going to continue at the front of the car and see how much progress we can actually make. There's a long list of things that we need to accomplish up here, and one of the biggest is revising the ducting for our hood vent so that it actually mates with the radiator. And to do that, we need to mount the radiator in place. I'm disassembling everything at the front end to give us lots of room to work, and we're going to mount the radiator like we did many episodes ago. Before we actually build ducting that seals to it, I want to make sure we have all of our plumbing in place. We're going to be running a lot of the plumbing down each side of the car, which I'm going to touch on here in a little bit. So to do that, I want to do some cleanup that I neglected to do back when we disassembled the front end of the Ferrari. There are a handful of heater hoses left, as well as a lot of AC and heater ducting, all of which need to come out. The heater line still runs through the driver's side rocker panel, as does the vacuum line for the brake booster, which we're going to leave in place for obvious reasons. To get the heater line out, though, we have to cut it and pull it out. At least, that's the easy way to do it, because Ferrari decided to wedge the hose behind some chassis members towards the end. We've now got some extra space and a clear shot from the back of the car to the front. So it's time to head back up to the front of the car and continue cleaning out some of this heater hose mess. The vent ducting in the car turned out to be an absolute nightmare to remove, which is honestly why I had not removed it before. The removal process includes unwinding the spiraled hose bit by bit until it finally pops off of its plastic connections. Here's a closer look at what we're actually working with and how I'm actually tearing it apart, which honestly probably seems like a pretty stupid way to take this off until you realize that the core of it is made of metal and that it is actually bonded to its plastic connections, meaning getting it to separate in one go is almost impossible, or at least it seemed to me. But eventually I turned about 1 foot of tubing under the dash into 100 feet of it and threw it all in the dumpster. Before diving back into plumbing, I did decide to take a minute and try to come up with a headlight solution, or at least a solution for the headlight covers that we want to mount back on the car. I had them balanced in some of the previous shots, and I want to find a way to actually mount them into place as they originally were. And I realized the easiest way to actually accomplish this is to just use the original towers that held them into place. Instead of making up a complicated solution for it, I realized these are meant to hold them exactly where they're meant to be and give me the adjustability to make sure all of the body gaps are correct. Last but not least, I was able to simply tighten down the fixtures and keep the bucket from moving. In the end, I'm left with a completely rigid fixture that can mount this headlight cover right where I need it to be, and while it's not the most elegant solution, it's simple and it's immediate. Now, honestly, this entire assembly is a lot heavier than I would like it to be. It's all steel, and so it comes in at about 6 pounds. And we could lose a lot of weight by rebuilding this whole structure out of aluminum and chopping off a lot of the steel that's in here. But honestly, I don't want to hack this up yet because I might want these headlights in the future. I don't know if my new headlight solution will work, and I do know that these work. So I see value in saving them for now. It's also the type of thing that I would spend at minimum a full day trying to rebuild all of this out of aluminum and make sure that it all works and lines up and is going to get this flush mounted with the hood of the car, things like that. And it's juice that's just not worth the squeeze because that's not going to get the car done any faster. It's spending a lot of time to shave a few pounds when right now I want to focus on getting the car complete and put back together And rebuilding a lot of this stuff out of aluminum, or redesigning some of this, or maybe having somebody remake this in carbon for me, is something that can happen in a later date once we're actually revising the car and trying to improve it once the dang thing actually works. And you can see here with everything lined up that it's a good reason not to go messing with it or making this overly complicated. I really expected to have to spend a day or more trying to come up with a solution of how to hold these panels into place, and the solution was sitting right in front of me. It might not be the best solution that could ever be, but it's one that I'm happy with, and it's done already. So with that solved, I'm going to go on and take it apart and send off the bases to get powder coated. I'm going to take the grills that go behind the headlight covers with them because I want all of this to be a nice trim black. I figured while I'm going to the powder coaters, I should probably go on and take some of the E36 parts that I've been meaning to get cleaned up. These two are going to be that same satin black finish, and it's the last piece that we need to get done for the E36 so we can actually put it on the car. There's probably 100 other parts that we need to take to the powder coater as we get closer to finishing this build, but this is a good start for now. The powder coaters is only about a block away, so Chloe and you guys are coming along for the ride. It's a short one. Now it's probably time to get back to that plumbing under the car. Now initially, coolant pipes ran through this here. This is at the base of the firewall. The steering wheel would be up that direction, passenger side of the car. And this is at the base, at the center, right at the bottom of the car. And it's a single tube that runs all the way to the back. It's probably 8 or so feet long. There's a divider at the front, but it only goes back about, yay far. Now, I was going to use the aluminum tubes running front and rear and put AN ports on each one, and I can show you guys how it kind of looks in place. We can actually fit one of them right here. And I would cut this off here and put a weld-on bung onto this, and same on the other end, and put an AN port from here up to our radiator. But the problem is that where we've mounted the fuel cell in the back, it covers up part of this. And I was expecting to run into some issues with that, but I wanted to put the fuel cell there and figured I could come up with an alternative for this. Now, we could just run hoses through this port, but the reason I can't really do that is the fittings won't fit through here. I want to run -20 lines for the coolant, and a -20 fitting will not fit through these holes. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this whole setup for the smaller lines for the heat exchanger on the intercooler. So let me go to the back of the car and show you what this looks like at the back real quick. All right, so here at the back of the car, this is our lower pipe coming through. You can see that the top is actually blocked. This is the bottom of the fuel cell here, and we can't fit the pipe through. What we can do, though, is fit our -12 lines through this for the heat exchanger. They will fit through this no problem. We will just run soft lines front to rear, and instead of running the radiator lines through the center of the car, we're going to move them through the rocker panels. So let me show you that. So here you guys can see the coolant pipe coming out underneath the fuel cell, but if we bring the camera over and look down the rocker panel, there's actually quite a large channel all the way down it. Sorry, this is tough to show you guys. All the way through there. And it might not look big, but it's quite big. And so what we're going to do is we're going to run one coolant line down each rocker panel. It's going to go all the way through that cavity to the front of the car. And it should work quite well. I've heard about other people doing this for whatever reason. I don't know why they might on their car, but people have run coolant lines through the rocker panels. We've got a lot of room to work with, so that's exactly what we're going to do. And we will have one come up each side and back to our water pump and engine. And in the front, one can go to each side of the radiator. Now, I am waiting still on some plumbing parts that should show up tomorrow. So we're not actually going to run those lines right now. That'll be in Tuesday's episode, but hopefully on Tuesday's episode we'll have most of the plumbing wrapped up. All of the pieces that I need to finish it should be here by then, fingers crossed. We've got headlight stuff underway. I ordered a front bumper. It should be here tomorrow. It's off of a 288 GTO, which I'm pretty excited about. Should be a nice finished piece that's really simple and sleek in the front, and I think I'm gonna go towards a 288 headlight setup because it's tried and true and looks original to the car. But with all that done, I think we're gonna pause here up front for now. We're gonna check out the digital dash that just showed up from Haltech, and then we are going to mock it up in the dash, see if we can't figure out how we're actually gonna mount it. I've got a couple of ideas. Should be pretty simple, so let's see how far we get. For starters, we have the original gauge cluster for the Ferrari, and we're not gonna use any of this anymore, even though it is admittedly quite beautiful. I want something digital with modern controls so I can really know what's going on underneath the hood of the car. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the gauges out of the original bezel so that we can use it for a template, because as one might expect, the bezel does fit the dash perfectly. I'm taking a lot of care during removal because I'm going to assume these gauges are worth a pretty penny, and I'd like to sell them once we're done with the project. With the bezel isolated, it's on to making an actual template by tracing it out, which we've done a million times before. I'm sure you guys get the gist at this point. We'll be putting the digital dash in this plastic molded and formed panel supplied by Haltech, which we can actually cut to fit our dashboard. That's the overall goal here. But with that, I guess you guys probably want to see the digital dash itself. This is Haltech's IC7. It's a beautiful digital dash that operates on a CAN bus and can give us absolute and full control over pretty much every aspect of what the Nexus R5 ECU is doing. It's a much better alternative than running some old analog gauges, so that's why we're making the switch. I'm using a soapstone here to trace out on the black plastic so that I can actually see the shape that we need to cut out, and it worked really well operating through the bandsaw, as opposed to something black like a Sharpie or maybe a purple marker. This was definitely the way to go. A Scotch-Brite disc made really quick work of any remaining plastic and helped me to smooth out the edges after I retraced the bezel on the cutout shape. I worked to refine this shape a couple of times over until we finally got the whole thing to fit perfectly. And here you can see it's a nice, simple, and elegant fit. I love the way that the entire Haltech system fits within the factory Ferrari dashboard. I think it's a really nice mashup of modern technology and old aesthetics, and it's going to look really good behind the Narita dogfight and Tanita steering wheel. Overall, I'm excited to see this thing light up once we get further down the process of wiring the car up. Alright, I know it's not actually that easy to mount the dash. We have to bolt the dash into place so it doesn't move around while we're driving. So I've taken things apart, I've got this panel back out, and I'm going to show you how exactly I think I'm going to bolt this in. I'm not going to get it done this episode, but it's a concept I'm going to work on over the weekend. So if we look in here, you'll see we've got a lot of sheet metal. There's some original mounting tabs in here, here and up here, but I don't think we're going to be able to use these because the bolts would be visible on the face of the dash panel, and I don't want that. So we're going to mount in this surface with a countersunk bolt so nothing is visible. And to do that, I think I'm going to make a small aluminum structure that ties into this and this. We'll just bend something real simple up and riv nut it into place, and it will sit against the back of the dash. And then I'll put some riv nuts into that, and then we can simply drill and countersink this panel and bolt it nicely into place, and it should work pretty well, as long as I can then get up behind it to put those bolts in to the back of this. I'll have to reach around and tighten them up. But I think this should work pretty well. It should be quite simple to make. If I had more time, I'd do it in this episode, but it's like 5 o'clock and I still have to edit this entire episode tonight. So we're gonna stop right here. All right, last but not least, I've got some show and tell here at the end of the episode. This doesn't have anything to do with the episode. This is just for fun, but I bought something completely silly. So here I have a Dash 8 AN fitting. It's about halfway through the normal range of AN fittings that people use normally. And then here, I have a Dash 16 fitting. This is just about as big as you're gonna see on a normal car. You'll see Dash 20 as well, which is one more size up. But this is a big fitting. It's a very large AN fitting. But here, I bought a Dash 32 fitting. This fitting, brand new, this is used, brand new, is $400. It is massive. It's the biggest one I'm aware of that they make. I found this when I was doing the last episode about AN fittings, and I decided I had to have one to put on my desk, and I found this one used on eBay for way more than I should have spent. But look at it, it's sick, it's too cool. It's absolutely huge, and it's 3 pieces, but it's pretty ridiculous. I cannot believe how large this is. It's heavy too. And to iterate again, no, we're not using this for anything. I just had to buy it so I could show you guys just how absurd it really is. All right, you guys are getting an old school outro for this one. I'm not setting the camera back up. This episode was a weird one. It didn't feel like anything interesting happened, but it was all just kind of baby steps needed to get progress going on this thing. What happened off camera that you guys didn't see is just a bunch of ordering parts, and that's time consuming, so that happened over the last 2 days. I decided to order new seats for the car because I've changed my mind. So I'm gonna use the Zeta 2s in the E36 when it's on the road, and I've got something new showing up, I think, on Monday. And I've got a slew of other parts showing up. Like I said, pedal down, we're making good progress. Tuesday's episode should be a pretty good one. I'm actually excited about it. There's gonna be a lot of stuff done, a lot of new progress. We're gonna finish up plumbing. I should have some of those powder-coated parts back tomorrow, so we'll get to put some stuff together, really start taking a look at some things. Overall, I'm excited. I'm feeling good. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Leave me some feedback as always. I appreciate the support, and I'll catch you guys on Tuesday.